my generation.
Well, happy Friday to you. I am Jen Yates. You're locked on to Jyneration Nation, LRS102.com, and I'm always happy, especially on a Friday, because I have Sue O'Neill up in my LRS studios. How are you doing, Miss Sue O'Neill?
Doing great today, Jen. Thank you.
Awesome.
Thanks for having me.
Absolutely. I was really excited to get you up in here. It took a little bit of time, but we got you in here. I'm trying to get everybody up in here.
Yes.
I'm like, if you've ever been a part of the Louisville music scene, I want you here.
That's great.
Yeah. So we're going to talk all kinds of cool stuff because we actually have a cool background too.
Yes.
I was just trying to remember on my way in here. Have we ever played a gig together?
No, we've jammed, but we've never played a gig
You're
together.
right. It's only been during blues jams, I think,
yeah.
and like one song or something.
Yeah.
That's super cool. Well, we're gonna have to make that happen.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm all
Anytime.
about. Yeah, there's so many great drummers around here that I have to fight for position spaces, and I've had most of them up on the show because I wanted to feature drummers, obviously.
Sure.
That it's tough sometimes in Louisville.
Yeah.
So let's talk about. Do you remember how we met?
Do I remember how we met?
I always ask my guests this.
We met. I think the first time I met you was actually on a Tennessee girls trip, I think.
Oh, was it?
Yeah.
Okay. Oh, it was that trip?
Uh-huh.
Oh, wow.
I do believe
Where we
it.
painted the bottles because I still have my bottle.
Yeah. I mean, I knew, I knew of you, and, we've got our Louisville community small, really, for
it is,
the most part. And,
but
of
for
course,
people,
admired you for a long time, and then I got to meet you.
That's funny. That's funny.
And we had a good time.
Yeah, we had a great time. I remember that trip. Well, I've been on those trips several times, and some of them blur together.
Yeah.
But I believe we were fishing on that trip, right? Didn't we?
No, we didn't fish. It rained, remember?
Did me and Sue not go fishing? I thought we went fishing on that trip because Sue and me, and not Sue O'Neill, but Sue Riley, rest in peace, and me, we would go on these trips and we would go fishing.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that was always one of my favorite parts is to get to go fishing.
Yeah.
Yeah, down there.
Yeah.
On Watts Bar Lake. That's the name of it, yeah.
Yeah.
So,
I think we might have, made a little trip over there just to sightsee, but it was rainy. And
yeah.
so
I
we
kind of
painted
remember that it
bottles.
was. Yeah. So we painted bottles instead and played Cards Against Humanity and everything else. I can't remember, Trivial Pursuit or something. Some kind of games.
Yeah.
There's always games involved.
Good times.
Yeah, good times. Well, cool. Well, that's super rad. So, Sue, let's educate our listeners on everything about you. First off, how did you get your start in music?
Gee. Well, I feel like I came out of the womb singing.
Right. Well, yeah. I feel you.
But I think, first started singing, of course, in church. I was raised Catholic.
It always
sang
goes
in the
back.
choir.
Catholic church?
Yes, Catholic church.
Do you still practice Catholicism?
No, I do not.
Okay. I was just curious. Because y'all have the best picnics.
Well, I'll go to the picnics.
I know, right?
Drink beer and play bingo.
Yeah. That's one thing I love about the Catholics, is I was raised Southern Baptist, is that the Catholics love to drink their wine and gamble. Mm-hmm. What is it about that?
Mm-hmm. I don't know.
Because isn't that supposed to be the two things you're not supposed to be doing?
Well, if you're a Baptist.
Wait, where's my bell? I got my bell. Yeah, I love the bell. Anytime something funny happens, ding, 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 or we cuss for our we have a swear jar that we cuss, and if we do, we put money in it. We donate it to charity, so we cuss for a good cause here. Yeah. So yeah, hilarious about the Baptist thing though. Yeah, I do love a good Catholic picnic.
Yeah, me too. Except for it's always pretty hot.
It is. It's always in August. Why they put those things in August?
Well, they're all summer long, but they always seem to make the ones in August.
Yeah. All right. Can we get a church Catholic picnic in the fall, y'all?
Early spring, something.
Yeah, but it's most everybody I interview, it goes back to church.
Yeah.
It goes back to they started in church. I myself sang in church choir, and they were like, "Oh," and then moved me to handbells. Oh,
funny.
Yeah, it was a true story, and all we had was handbells or a piano and an organ. That was it. There was no drums or no, any. There
we
were
didn't
no
have anything.
other instrumentation.
Yeah. It was organs and voices.
Yeah.
And an old friend that used to sing in the choir with me, she would sit next to me and she'd say, "Sing louder, Susan, sing louder." And I, always wondered, it's like, why do you want me to sing louder? One day I asked her, she said, "Because it drowns me out because I can't sing."
That's hilarious. I love that. So, how long did you stay in church choir?
Oh, through the 8th grade.
Okay.
I went to
Yeah.
parochial school from the 1st to the 8th grade.
And are you
St.
from
Rita.
Louisville?
Yes.
Okay, cool. So, do you have memories of LRS growing up?
Oh, absolutely.
I love to ask that question.
Oh, I absolutely do. That was the
Yeah.
rock and roll station to listen to.
Yeah, and we're hoping we still are. You
Yeah.
know what I mean?
Yeah.
Yeah. So LRS started in 1964, the year that the Beatles came to America, and was not a premier rock and roll station until later.
Yeah.
But then was the rock and roll station
Yeah.
for many, 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 many years. And we took a little hiatus, and now we're back.
Yay.
Yeah, with everybody cool. And like I said, the mayor just announced that we are the official radio station of Rollfest. And of course, we're broadcasting live right here on Broadway. So if you
Hey.
hear the sirens going by, sorry. They go by daily. It's crazy because we're down here near the hospital district. So
Right.
yeah.
Right on Broadway.
Yeah, but I love to broadcast from the window because people can walk by. They always stop. Some guy did break dancing in front of the thing the other day. They peace out me. Some of them walk up in here and ask for jobs. Yeah, I had a guy do that yesterday. It was funny. So you started out singing, obviously. Do you play any instruments?
I do not. I haven't.
Yeah.
Forever. But
Yeah.
I recently.
That's what the hubby's for.
I know. But I recently picked up the ukulele and started
I love that.
teaching myself ukulele using YouTube. You can learn anything
Yeah.
on YouTube.
Yeah, yes, you can.
And, I've learned a few chords. It's helped me, in my writing
Yeah,
tremendously.
I bet. Yeah,
because I always had to depend on a musician, I'd write lyrics.
right.
Well, I really seriously were just poems.
Yeah.
And
Well, lyrics
try to
are
put them
poems,
to music,
yeah.
right? And try to put them to music and really not understanding what it meant.
Note structure,
phrasings,
scales,
yeah,
all that stuff.
And now I'm understanding, and it's really helping.
Yeah, heck yeah, I would think so. I don't know much about singing. Obviously, we're complete opposites in that sense. But
But you can butter.
drums are my thing. But I did grow up playing piano. I played clarinet in the bass clarinet, bari saxophone in college, and marimbas my whole life. And just all kinds of random stuff. I can pick a little bit on the guitar. Just a little bit of everything, but nothing great like the drums.
Right.
Right. Yeah. So that's cool. So when did you join your first band?
Ooh. Well, in terms of joining a band, was like 1978? Was it Just Foolin'?
That's my birth year. Sorry.
Boy, do I feel old.
That's almost 41 years ago, because 41 years ago in 2 weeks, I will be 41.
All right. Yay.
Yeah.
Happy birthday.
Thank you.
Yeah.
It's been a wild ride, man. The 40s, I felt like I had a mental breakdown in the 40s. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Yeah. And some women tell me that that's okay. That was common. They felt like they did too. So I said, well, good. At least I'm not alone in that sense.
That's right.
Yeah, exactly. So 1978, you joined a band. And how old were you when you joined the band? Can you give me that?
What was I, 27?
Okay.
Something
27.
like that. 26, 27. Yeah. Yeah.
So late bloomer in joining bands.
Yeah.
Yeah. And what was that band? What style of music?
Well, the name of the band was Just Foolin'.
Okay.
Rick, my
That's right.
husband, played bass.
Cool.
No, he played guitar.
Oh,
in
he
that
played
band.
guitar.
Lead guitar in that band and
Yeah.
sang, yeah. We were just dating, actually, and
So
honestly,
y'all met in the band, or did
Well,
you
we
you were
had
dating
met-
before the band?
shortly before that started, he already had the band. He was looking for a vocalist, and I recommended Jennifer Laletta.
Yeah.
Who's, good
Who's your
friend of
bestie,
mine.
right?
Yeah,
We
we've been-
had her in here week 1.
Yeah.
I'm gonna have her back in because we weren't archiving then yet.
Oh, yeah, you should.
And yes, and I hate to miss the archives.
Yeah. Well, she tried out for him, and of course, they were ready to go with her. She's great.
Yeah.
And she wasn't ready to. She wasn't quite what she wanted to do.
Yeah.
And she told Rick. She said, your girlfriend here can sing, and so that's kind of what happened.
Were you all already good friends back then?
Jennifer?
You and Jennifer, yeah.
Oh yeah,
Okay.
we met when we were freshmen in high school, and we're friends all through
Wow,
high school.
how crazy is that?
Used
Small
to
world.
play at the Oval Door
Yeah.
together. Remember? You probably.
I don't remember.
No,
No,
you don't.
I didn't get here till
You weren't
99.
even there then. Yeah.
I wasn't even birthed.
Yeah, that was like the
Yeah.
67, 68,
Oh no, yeah,
69.
I wasn't even thought about then. Yeah, no.
We were doing the Oval Door.
Yeah, very cool. And what was the Oval Door? It was some sort of venue
It was
here
a
in Louisville.
coffee house.
Oh, a coffee
those
house.
were the hippie days, and
Yeah.
they had coffee houses, and
Yeah.
and we just go in there, and
Yeah.
different people would get up and play. And
Sweet. So, like,
she
the
and I had a
folky
little,
stuff.
yeah, it was folk music.
Yeah.
She played guitar, and I backed her up, sang harmony with her.
Yeah, super
fun.
cool. Yeah. Did you make any money at all, or did you just
Heck
do
no.
it for the fun of it?
No money. We just
No
did it
money.
for
Yeah.
fun. Yeah.
Cool. So let's keep going. So then you progress on. How long was that band together? Do you remember?
To 1980.
Okay, so it was together quite a
Yeah,
quite a
yeah,
little while.
and they had been together before us. I think Rick, of course, was with Kessler's friends before that, and
Right.
he broke off for them to do this rock and roll band,
Yeah.
Just Foolin', and so in '80, that dissolved. We got married, and
Congrats.
thank you, 1980.
Still
And
married.
still married, and
Well, you give me hope because I haven't had a lot of faith in marriage these days, if you know what I'm saying. Everybody, I know, I get hit on more by married people than anybody else. And then I'm just like, well, then what's the point?
what's the point? Yeah,
I don't understand it.
No,
Yeah.
no.
It's interesting to be single in a world like today.
Yeah, I bet.
Sure is.
I bet.
Not that I'm looking, but I'm just saying I observe.
Well, I'm glad. I'm glad I'm not. Let's put it that way.
Yeah, no kidding. Yeah, their hellos are nude pictures today, and that's no joke. And I'm being completely honest.
Oh, my
you know?
God.
Yeah, it's a whole different world. There's no such thing as dating today. Can you believe that?
Well, I saw an article, something about today, and I just kind of skimmed it, but they were talking about, what do you do on a date these days? I mean,
I can tell you exactly.
you
what they
can't go
do.
out on a shoestring because it'll cost you. What they're saying is you have to spend a ton of money to go out on a date.
Oh,
So people just
yeah.
they don't really do it too much
Yeah.
anymore.
Well, I could see that. Oh, you mean even if they're together going out on a date, or if they're just like dating? and
Just
going-
dating.
Yeah,
Just,
that's true.
casual
Because
dating.
well, why do you think I wrote bougie?
Yeah.
Because the girl I was seeing, I was $200 a night.
Yeah.
$200 on a dinner.
Yeah.
That's a lot.
That's what I'm saying. Drinking and dinner, and
Yeah.
you've dropped $150, $200.
Yeah.
And
Meanwhile, the other one was broke.
that's not at a nice restaurant.
I was like, the one after her was broke all the time and was like, will you buy me dinner? Will you buy me this? Will you buy me this?
White Castle.
I was taking her to much better places than that. I'm a little bit more classy than that. But, yes, by the time you dropped them back off, then it's like a couple $100, and then they run back to their fiancés. That's how it works, man.
Yeah.
That's what I'm saying. I do appreciate a good couple that's been together for a long time because it gives me faith.
39 years in November.
Congratulations.
Thank
yeah.
you.
So you were married in 1979.
No, we were married in 1980.
80. That's right. I went backwards. Yeah. Okay, cool. All right. Yeah. So very cool. And then you've been playing music together for a while too, right?
Well, we did. We played in the Blues Hounds together.
Rick is in here, just FYI.
Yeah.
Rick is hanging with us today.
Yeah, we played in the Blues Hounds together for, I don't know, I think that band lasted, 8 years or so.
That's a long time
And-
for a band. Yeah.
Yeah. And Rick decided he just didn't really want to do the club scene anymore.
Mm-hmm. Man, Rick,
So-
I'm with you. I mean, how old were you when you decided that? Do you know?
I don't know, probably about 40 or something.
Okay. Yeah, I'm right at that age. So
Yeah.
I'm just like, man, I am over that scene.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? When you're working on your sobriety, I feel like it's incredibly hard to play that scene. You know what I mean?
Sure.
And when people have more than 2 drinks now, I can smell them a mile away. And and then I just make my exit because I'm like, yeah, I don't want to deal with all that anymore.
Right.
And it for me, it's more of dealing with that than I enjoy getting on stage and playing.
Yeah.
Yeah, because I would rather lock myself in my music studio and write all day long as opposed to drag out hundreds of pounds of equipment and do this and do that. I don't know. I just feel like I want to do events. I want to do bigger things. I want to do, documentaries. I've got a documentary coming out week after my birthday. Pride Festival, doing that one twice. Things that are just bigger, family friendly. The club scene is an interesting scene.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I can't even imagine it back in like 60s, 70s days.
Well, I can't either, really, because we didn't. I mean, the '60s, I didn't. I was too young.
Yeah, Marvin Maxwell tells me, he was in on the show, of course.
Yeah.
And I love Marvin. He's like a father figure to me, and he was telling me all about, we were talking about the differences with sobriety with musicians back then till current. And how it's changed so much. He was like, back then, everybody was messed up. In this building that we're in, he was telling me, Pink Floyd was here, ZZ Top was here, B.B. King was here. Everybody was in a back alleyway back here, trashed, and you would never find a sober player back then. And then I said, well, that's funny because today it's almost the complete opposite. Everybody, Kelly Ritchie, she was sober by the time I got to her. She made me sign a contract to be sober, which I did. Beverly McClellan never drank a drop. She was sober. I'm not including weed in any of that, but I'm, because I don't think anybody cares about weed today. I really don't.
Yeah.
It's it's minuscule compared to the effects of alcohol.
Oh.
So anyway, it's ironic that today, Julie Wolfe that took me to LA completely sober. It's ironic today how the pros look at it more from a sober perspective, where the back in the day was the complete opposite. It was more of the party scene.
Yeah.
It's fascinating how that has changed over time, isn't it?
It certainly is. I mean, even at my level, I can remember days, when we played a lot back in the early days of the Mudcats. When we played a lot, it was nothing for people to bring you drinks.
Oh, yeah.
All night
they
long
still do it.
to the
Yeah.
stage, and you find
Well, and some
one day
people
you
use
wake
that.
up and say, "Oh, I'm in trouble.
Yep.
This is too easy." So
Yeah.
you get to the point. I don't.
Yeah.
Pretty
Or
much
I don't
most of the time
remember
don't
it.
drink at all. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. When people tell you things that you did and you're like,
Yeah.
I don't remember that.
Yeah, that's happened. I've been there, done that many a times. In fact, we've talked about some of the classic gigs I've had here. I think it goes down in the storybook. Some of them,
Yeah.
I'm
Yeah.
still apologizing for some of them.
well.
if they're lucky enough to get my apology. Yeah.
You can only move forward.
That's exactly right. That's
all you
exactly
can
right.
do. Yeah.
So it's really interesting how music is. I mean, and on a local level like that, how it's easy to fall into those traps. It's easy to, accidentally have too much. You just don't know. It's easy also to exhaust yourself and not eat properly and not, drink enough water and not, there's all these things that go into it.
Exactly.
Yeah, because you're exuding so much energy, you're sweating so much, and and everybody does it for different reasons. I feel like what made you want to continue doing music as you got older? Because a lot of people just give it up along the way.
Yeah, well, I've tried a couple of times to just, walk away and say, no, this isn't for me, or, I'm done.
Yeah.
And I have not been able to do it. I've found that it's really core to who I am. It's what I am. It's
Right. It's a part of
music. It's a part of me, and music. It's cathartic. I can go into a gig being apprehensive, nervous, not really wanting to do it. Just really not in the mood. And
Right.
2 songs into it, I'm happy I can feel those good feelings again. And
Yeah.
and
Did you
it's just-
ever, I'm just curious from my own perspective, but did you ever get to a point where it made you very unhappy to do, or has it always made you happy to do?
It's always made me, happy to do it once I'm into the, into it.
Into it
the
on
music.
stage, right,
Yeah,
yeah.
when, it's about the music. But, leading up to that, a lot of times I'm very apprehensive and nervous and just, not feeling it.
Yeah.
And,
so you still get nervous?
Yeah, sometimes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I do too. It just depends on the gig.
Depends on the audience.
Yeah.
For me.
Yeah.
If I'm seeing a bunch of people that are my age,
Right.
that are that I know,
that you look up to and respect.
right.
Yeah.
I'm good.
Yeah.
If I'm seeing a lot of really young people that I know, really aren't into our music,
Yeah.
because it's
Yeah.
not for everybody.
What's the blues? They should at least.
Right. Right.
Yeah,
I worry.
respect it.
It's
Yeah.
like.
Yeah.
And then some of the lyrics in some of the songs. If it's a family friendly event and there's kids, you got to adjust your set for that.
Absolutely.
And that makes
Although
me
I
nervous,
have found that the more that I put cuss words in my music, the more that everybody loves it, whether it be adults or kids. I walked into a lesson the other day, and one of the kids was singing one of my solo songs, and I was like, wow. He was singing all the lyrics to me. And the kid's like 8, and I was like, oh, wow. I'm pretty influential, and the kid,
Yeah, yeah.
he knew enough to look it up, and that kind of made me step back for a minute and be like, wow,
Yeah.
the stuff I write is coming across to these kids.
Right. Right.
Yeah.
So you got to be careful.
Yeah. I hear you. Although I feel like live, yes, creatively, no. Does that make sense? Because, and
Yes.
I've talked a lot about this with other artists who put out solo stuff. When you're writing creatively, Bob Marley can shoot a sheriff. The Dixie Chicks can put the guy who punched their friend in a car and drive them into the river. We're all about being behind them. Guns N' Roses can bury their ex in their backyard, and we're singing right with them.
Right.
You know what I mean? So I feel like creatively you can do things and express yourself in ways and get your emotions out differently than you can in a live setting. Right?
Yes.
Because people get the choice to listen then. They can
Right.
listen or they cannot. That's how I look at it when I put out stuff. I try to never let whatever I'm writing about or whoever I'm writing about, I try to never take into consideration whether they're going to like it or not, or whether their feelings are going to be hurt or not. And that's not me being an asshole. I'm going to donate to charity. Charity just got more money. Yeah. But I feel like that is being a true artist, because had Bob Marley worried that the sheriff was going to hear it, then he would have never put out the track.
Right.
Same thing with the Dixie Chicks. They put out the track, and then you get the option to listen or not. And if you like it, you'll listen a couple times. And if you don't want to, you don't have to.
Right.
That's kind of how I feel. But now live setting, totally different.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, you do have to adjust, because obviously you want the venues to hire you back. You want the booking companies to hire you back. And they're not going to do that if you're up there being rowdy.
Right.
Yeah, exactly. Now, Pride, though, you can get away with that. You
Yeah.
can get away with the rowdy. Yeah.
Well, again, like I said, it depends on the
On
venue,
the venue,
depends
that's
on the audience.
exactly right. Yeah.
You just have to adjust.
That's why I love playing for my gays. But I need my sound effects. I usually have sound effects up in here. Laser beams to shoot at X's and things like that. And then da-dump-chas for like jokes. But I'll try to get those back in. Anyway, well, yes, that's super cool. So what do you got going on right now? Let's talk about that.
Right now.
Yeah, bands you got going on right now, venues, gigs, stuff like that.
Well, of course, I'm playing with the Mudcats.
Right.
Have been.
Shout out my cats.
Yay!
Who's in that band? Let's tell everybody.
Drummer Gene Wycliffe, who has been since the inception.
By the way, I want to get him up in here. He's another one of my favorites that I don't have a contact for. So, Gene, if you're listening, or Sue O'Neill, somebody get me in contact.
I can give
for
you in
Gene.
contact with
Yeah.
Gene.
Cool. Because I love him.
Oh yeah, great guy. Man, a few words. I'll be interested to see.
Oh, is he not going to talk to me? Oh, no.
He
Well,
might,
then I'll have
but-
to get Lynch up in here, because I know he'll talk all day.
And we have Brendan Lewis on bass
Cool.
and Rob Pickett on guitar, who's
Love Rob.
of course been with it since the inception.
Right.
And Wes Burgess on keyboard.
Okay, Wes, right on.
Yes,
Gotcha. Oh,
yeah.
Wes. All right, cool.
I'm very
I also need
fortunate.
to get him up in here too. Wes is cool.
I'm very fortunate to work with these guys.
Yeah.
I'm just
And how
tickled
long
to
have
death.
you all been around?
The
Because
Mudcats, we formed, Jim Rosen and I formed the Mudcats.
okay, I was going to ask you about that.
1986.
Okay, I was going to ask you about that because when I worked at Mom's Music,
Mm-hmm.
Mom's has a lot of Jim Rosen stuff up on their walls.
Yeah.
And I used to walk by. This is I never got to meet him actually, and I always was curious because I heard he was an amazing harp player around town. Yes, like one of the best. And then I always saw that his band was the Mudcats, right? The Mudcats.
The Mudcats.
Which I always loved. Yes. So tell me a little bit about how you formed that band with him and how did you meet Jim?
I met Jim through Marty, you know who, Marty Rosen? Well, it's Jim's brother.
Yeah.
And his wife, Mary. Mary and I go back to high school days, and I met through her, actually.
Yeah.
I met Rick through her. She's
Oh,
been
wow.
very influential in my life.
Cool.
And anyway, Jim was with the Bluebirds at the time, and I sat in, did couple of gigs with them, and they ended up going with another vocalist, which that's cool. And
It's always fun to
Yeah.
lose the auditions, isn't it? Yeah.
but that's okay. And I think that was who was it? It was Jimmy Brown.
Hey, Jimmy Brown was in here a couple days
Yes,
ago.
I saw the picture.
Have you heard? Me and him were playing together.
Oh, really?
Oh yeah,
Oh,
we're
that's
playing
cool.
Louisville Pride. We're playing. It's me, him, Donna Bivens on lead guitar,
Yeah.
Jessica Bullock on piano, who's like one of my new little favorite pianists. I love her. And we're backing LaVon Fisher Wilson, who's a big Broadway star. Was in The Color Purple.
Nice.
On Broadway, she was
Yeah.
Mama Thornton on
Yes.
Broadway in Chicago, and she runs a Queens of Funk and Soul group here.
Oh, really?
With the backup dancers and the outfits and the whole nine.
Oh, neat.
Yeah, and we're doing stuff like Lizzo, which is hilarious. We're doing the new Lizzo tracks and everything from Beyonce to Aretha Franklin to Tina Turner. So we're gonna rock that Pride stage. And I wanted to play with Jimmy Brown, so
yeah.
I called him up and I was like, Jimmy, dude, I've only ever done auditions with him. In fact, he was at the audition for Girlfriend, the one that ended up taking me to L.A. And that's where I met him, was on stage at that audition.
Oh, okay.
By the way, I just have to say, since we were talking about auditions, that one in particular scared the bejesus out of me because we talk about getting nervous. Usually I don't get nervous unless it's playing for somebody who I know is really good as a drummer. So like if a Marvin Maxwell walks in, which he did at She Castle, by the way, and scared the bejesus out of me again, it's never fun to look up and be like, oh yeah, there's Marvin Maxwell. Oh, I better like really do a great job. So I had to do that audition. Jimmy Brown was on bass. Jeff McAllister was on drums. So he gets up to let me have the drum set and goes and sits in the front row, right? Yep. So I've got to play in front of him. Scott Anthony was on keys. Julie Wolfe, who ended up hiring me and toured with Ani DeFranco, the Indigo Girls, and just produced Carly Simon, was sitting there. Nancy Harris was there with Sam Harris, who had given me drum lessons.
Yeah.
And I'm sitting in this room with all these drummers, staring at me having to audition for this big role, and I ended up getting it. But you talk about being nervous. I was slightly nervous at that.
I would have been too.
So I get the audition thing, and I've had a lot of people in here talking about losing auditions over the past, and I told Jeff McAllister was in here, and I said, Jeff, you're the only dude I've ever lost an audition to, and he said, what? It was at Actors Theater for Hedwig.
Oh, darn.
In The Angry Inch. I wanted that role real bad.
Yeah,
and I still do. If anybody's out there listening and has that role open, I will do it for free. I don't care. I want to just play that show. But yeah.
I know what you mean.
Yeah, but Jeff got it. And then I was like, who got the audition? When they said Jeff, I was like, it makes sense.
Yeah.
Jeff's awesome.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. A lot of awesome musicians in Louisville.
Oh, I know.
I'm just honored really to even be, included in the community.
Yeah.
It's like, wow.
Well, it's funny that I get included in the community because I've been here long enough, I guess, but I'm not from here. So everybody's always like, Jen Yates from Louisville, Kentucky. And I'm like, nope, not from Louisville. not even close.
Kentucky. What is it, Kentucky?
That's right. I represent
We'll
my
claim it.
state. Yeah, not just Louisville.
That's right.
I write a lot about Louisville in this solo record though, because it's just giving me material for days.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, it's funny how you can take everyday things like that and just write in your music. Like I said, we'll talk a little bit more about the creative process of that because I know you're a creative soul too. Yeah, and you paint.
I do.
I know.
Just started.
I
really,
love
a
that
few
you
years ago.
paint. Yeah. Well, I must have been around when you first started because
Yeah.
we were painting bottles together.
Yeah, that's a friend of mine. One Sunday we were at my house and it was raining and we were bored and it was like, what can we do? I said, well, I've got these wine bottles here. I've got this acrylic paint here and some brushes.
I've got a recycling bin
Yeah.
out back and it's got all these bottles I need to get rid of.
Let's see what we can do. So we sat down painting bottles. I thought, I can paint. I can see perspective and make it look like something. And it was
I
just
can blend colors.
such a surprise.
Yeah.
So I started doing that.
I actually fell asleep to Bob Ross like 2 nights ago.
Oh, yeah.
I found that he is
We
on
watch
KET late at night. Yes, I love him.
We watch him all the time.
He's like, happy trees, happy
Right.
trees.
Yes.
Somebody told me to, and I don't know if this is true, that he always had 2 paintings of each one he did. He actually did one beforehand and had it off to the side of the camera. He's shaking his head, yes. Yeah, and then he would replicate it on TV. And he would do that so that he could make it fast on television.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. I mean,
'Cause
30
painting,
minutes.
yeah.
I've tried
paint
to
something
follow
amazing.
him. I've set up my easel and my
Have you
paints.
really?
And, it's okay, I've
I
got the
love it.
cadmium yellow and I've got the,
Yeah. Does it
paint's
ever look
gray
like
and the-
his
Heck
trees
no.
or
He moves too fast.
I know.
I mean, it's
He
like,
really
come
does.
on. Of course,
Yeah.
you can stop it now, but who does that,
Yeah, put it on that times 0.5 or whatever it is where it's real slow. It's
Right.
like happy trees. Yeah, that'd be funny. Yeah, I love it when they slow mo stuff because the pitch drops like
Yeah.
super scary. Yeah, yeah. I've been playing a lot with those effects. Like you can speed up, slow down. I love all that weird stuff when you're in music.
Yeah.
Yeah. So when's the next Mudcats gig?
The next Mudcats gig is a NAB.
Okay.
New Albany Blues, Brews, and Barbecue Festival.
Okay, right on.
September the 28th.
All
The Mudcats
right.
play at 1.
At 1 p.m.
They have great bands all day, both Friday and Saturday.
Yeah.
So
We do a lot of stuff with them too, LRS, I feel like.
With New Albany?
New Albany, yeah. Yeah. I love I call it Hell New Albany. That's just because I like to say that.
you just like to say,
Yeah, just Hell New Albany. Because
No, yeah.
everybody calls it Albany.
Right.
I'm like, I call it Hell New Albany. Yeah. Yeah, no, I love that place over there. I love to go to Huber's, that's one of my favorite spots ever. I'll be going here in a couple weeks.
Oh, yeah.
I try to go every year for my birthday.
yeah.
Yeah.
Since they've sold it off, I hope it's maintained the same
Yeah.
atmosphere.
Well, you know what's funny is last year on my birthday, in fact, I went with Sue and Paula and my mother and my mom's best friend, Charlene. We went over to Huber's, and the day after we ate there is when they sold it. So that was almost a year ago because it was on my birthday. I remember it on my 40th. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, hopefully they're keeping up the same.
Me too, because that's just it's a historic place. I feel like you have to. But didn't they just sell the restaurant? They didn't sell the
think
whole
so.
property.
I
Yeah,
think
so I love to go over there and go to their little cheese shop and buy their breads and everything. That's amazing. Run through their little vineyards. Pick a pumpkin. I love all that cheese.
It's a day trip. It's a good day trip.
It's a fun day trip. Yeah, especially because I'm still a 5-year-old technically on the inside, and I love to run up and down and do all the fun stuff that you do. All right. Well, we're talking with Miss Sue O'Neill, and you are on LRS102.com. Thank you so much for coming in on a Friday and spending it with me and
Yay.
talking all things music. We were talking about rock and roll earlier because since LRS 102 is primarily a rock and roll station, we spend anything from the 60s till current. And you said you pretty much love a little bit of everything with rock and roll, right?
Yeah, I'm not real picky. I'm not a genre specific person.
Yeah, I love that.
I can, listen to just about any genre, and if I like the song, it doesn't matter what genre it is.
Exactly.
That's the point I'm trying to make.
Same. Yeah. I hear you. Music is music to me. I love it all. I love it all. And I feel like you have to love it all today. You know what I mean? To to respect a lot of them. So we're going to kick it in with some David Bowie,
All right.
who's one of my all-time favorites.
Yes.
And guess what? This is John Lennon on backing vocals on this track.
Huh.
It's Fame. You're locked on to LRS 102, The Walrus. It's some Elton John, Crocodile Rock. You're locked on to LRS102.com. I'm Jen Yates, the Jyneration, and I'm joined by Miss Sue O'Neill. How you doing, Miss Sue?
Doing great, Jen.
Awesome. What do you think about that nickname, the Jyneration?
I like it. Perfect.
Miss Beverly McClellan gave me that. She loved to sing about the generator all the time. It's just funny. Oh, yeah. We were just talking about earlier today about losing certain people in the music industry that we have played together with, right? Because we just lost Sue Riley, who we had a mutual contact with.
Mm-hmm.
We would have girls' nights, where we had board games and to take trips together and stuff like that. And then I'm sure in your past that you have lost other musicians along the way that have been close to you, correct?
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah, it's a tough thing when we lose a
Yeah.
musician, I feel like.
It really is.
And I don't want to give them more credit, but it just seems like it's more special when we lose a musician, or it's tougher
Yeah.
for some reason. And maybe it's because that person's touched a lot more people.
Yeah.
I don't know. But
Well, I don't, and in my case, and people that I've lost that I've played music with, when you play music with someone, for me, you touch each other on a personal level.
Right.
And, on a very different level than you do, a friend that you just have as a friend.
yeah, I always call it a relationship without sleeping together.
Yes.
Because it's that special, that connected of a relationship.
It's very personal.
and in
yes.
many ways, it can be even more personal than a sexual relationship.
Sometimes maybe, yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah, of course we lost Jim Rosen in '98.
I was going to ask you about that.
And you don't really ever get over it. Everett Duncan was another one that we lost, somebody that I worked with, just a little duo thing.
Mm-hmm.
Rick worked with him. Rick been friends with him since high school, and
Yeah.
we miss him all the time. And miss Jim all the time.
You never
It's like-
recover from that. I feel
No,
like
it
you
takes a
never
piece.
come back.
takes a piece of you with it.
Yeah.
With
Yeah.
with when they
Yeah,
go.
because of course I lost two back to back, so
Mm-hmm.
it was like, well, and not only that, but I lost a band, I lost friends, I lost a little bit of everything. I lost two relationships, I lost, it's just boom, 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 like one punch after the other. I write a lot about that, rolling with the punches in the 502, because I feel like Louisville beats me up.
Yeah.
Yeah. Physically, almost like emotionally, physically, in all ways, spiritually, mentally, and it's a sad thing when you lose things like
Yes,
that,
it really
'Cause
is.
it's never going to go back to being the same, and it doesn't matter how you replace it; it's never going to be replaceable.
You can't replace it.
And if you don't respect it, then that's horrible. You've got to respect it because, I don't know. I just feel like it's a hard thing to get over, and thank goodness for me on a personal level. When I was doing the Bev stuff, because we did have such a bond that it's kind of hard to describe,
Right.
She could look at me on stage and know exactly what I was about to do, and vice versa, and we didn't even have to speak. We had that type of relationship, which you need on stage,
Right.
Because you need to be able to look at your bandmate and not speak, but you know what I'm about to do.
Right.
It has to be that way,
Right.
especially with the bass and drums, because those are those connector. That is that foundation, and I say this all the time. It doesn't matter what you build on top of a foundation. If the foundation is cracked, it's never going to work. You cannot do it backwards. I'm sorry, you can't do it. You must have the drum and bass foundation if you have a band that has drum and bass in it, obviously. Not talking about coffee shop gigs or duos or any of that.
Right.
But if you do have drums in your band, and Marvin Maxwell said this as well, as Greg Martin even said this, without those drum and bass players, then it doesn't even matter what I do. And that's what Greg said. And it's true. If your foundation is cracked, if you build stuff on top of it, it's always going to be cracked.
Got to have good legs to stand on.
That's right. And you can't take the top and put a foundation under it. It's never going to work. You know what I mean? It may work on some levels, but it's not going to work on that deep level. Yeah. That's why I always respect bands like Fleetwood Mac. We were talking about this with Ray Rizzo. Fleetwood Mac, no matter who came and went, because a lot of people associate it being Stevie Nicks and Lindsey Buckingham, but it wasn't them to begin with.
No.
The foundation of Fleetwood Mac is Mick Fleetwood and his bass player, You know what I'm saying?
Yes.
So they have always remained there no matter who came and went, right? The foundation was there. That's why they are such a great band.
Right.
Yeah.
That makes
The
sense.
foundation never changed. Yeah. And it's hard to look at a band that just replaces drummers or replaces bass players or whatever. And it can be done, yes. But to me, Journey is never going to be the same without
Right.
Steve Perry.
Right.
I'm sorry. I saw the other dude in concert. He's okay. He's okay, but he's not Steve Perry. You
Right.
know what I mean? So to me, it didn't feel like going to really see Journey without him, you know?
Yeah.
And I'm not for sure why I never did figure that out, why Steve ended up partying and doing his own thing. So I don't know if it was the band or if it was him personally or, you know, it's probably something we'll never know.
Probably, yeah.
Yeah. But how do you replace Steve Perry? You know what I mean?
Right.
Yeah, it's just...
What a voice.
Yeah. And I was saying this the other day about Led Zeppelin, same thing with Zeppelin. When John Bonham went, they made a conscious decision. And one thing I've always respected about Led Zeppelin is no matter who wrote the song, they always put the four of them on there. If you look at the rights, it's always the four.
Oh.
Because no matter what, hey, there's a dude peace signing us in the USA. You missed him, but he came up. I think he had a dolly. He came up and peace signed us real big. That's why I love that window. But yeah, no, you know, it's hard to replace people. So anyway, it's very hard to do. Bands, it's so interesting on a local level. They just kind of keep rolling through and keep playing all the same venues, and you know. And I, for one, am at the point where it's like I feel like I've played most everything, you know. And once I've done it once, I feel like I've done it. So moving on to the next big thing. Let's rock and roll it out. Yeah. So next gig you have is the 21st. Is that right? Or 28th.
28th at NAB, yes. And then Porktoberfest at Cooper and King's
Oh, I love that.
on the 11th.
Okay.
October the 11th.
Is that the Copper and Kings Distillery?
Yeah.
Okay. And is that here in Louisville?
Yeah, it's on Washington Street.
That's what I thought. Okay, yeah. So that's
Butchertown.
down there near a play and all that. Yeah, Butchertown, yeah, where they, the Swift do plant.
And then October the 12th, we're at Garvin Gate Blues Festival, my
All right.
very, very favorite blues festival in this city ever.
Yeah. Is that
And,
the one down in Germantown?
No, it's a Garvin Gate. Oak
Where
Street.
is Garvin Gate? See, this is how much I know about Louisville.
Between 4th and 5th. They
Okay, I
close
know
off
where
Oak
Oak
Street.
is, yeah.
Put the stage in the middle of Oak Street. And it has
Cool.
2 stages. It's got a smaller stage and a larger.
Yeah, okay,
We're
cool.
on the
And then
Four
that's
Roses
where
stage.
that's where they get all the bourbon bands, all of the blues bands together to play the different stages. And it's strictly
act.
blues.
Yeah, national acts and local.
Cool. Who is the national act? Do we know this year? Or you
we
can't
should-
say yet?
I can't.
Okay, that's
I
fine.
should know this.
Well, I was
But
going
I
to say,
don't.
yeah, that's okay. We'll report back on that. Yeah, we'll report back.
I know
on
that we're playing at 3:15 on the
Okay.
Four Roses stage.
Yeah, okay,
I do know
cool.
that, and local groups like Lori Jane, the 45s.
Yeah, that's a great group.
Yeah, the Stella V's.
Oh, I love them too.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. Somebody handed me a Stella V's record long time ago, or whenever, I don't know, whatever last record they did, and I threw it in, loved it. Great stuff. What drew you to the blues specifically? Because you've majorly done blues stuff around town.
Yeah, my first blues album I ever came across was John Mayall.
Okay.
Is it 10 Years Are Gone? Is that the name of that album? Something. I mean, it's been so long ago. And, of course, like a lot of us came through, the English. He's British. So,
Yeah.
And,
Well,
then
it's
the next
funny
thing
to
I got
me-
was B.B. King.
Oh yeah.
And from there.
Who my girl
just
Bev
kinda-
got to tour with. I don't know if you knew that. but
Oh, I didn't know that.
Beverly McClellan toured with B.B. King right before he died.
Huh. I
Across the world too, not just the United States. They were over in Turkey and all kinds of interesting locations. By the way, B.B. King has also played this venue that we're sitting in right now. This
Really?
old theater he played here, yeah, back in the day. He was one of the great artists. But anyway, I was going to tell you, I always did find it interesting that it took overseas artists to bring blues to America that was formed right here in America.
Isn't that crazy?
It's the craziest story ever for music. So for people that don't know, because I had this cool rock and roll history class, and we talked about how rock and roll was birthed out of the blues, and of course been down to Mississippi and went to the crossroads and did all that historic stuff that you're supposed to do. Even when I toured with Kelly Ritchie, we toured the whole blues trail. So we toured all the way, from Mississippi, Alabama, on into all Georgia, on into down into Florida, and did the whole blues circle and stayed at a lot of these blues houses, which were cool because like people had written them notes thanking them for letting them stay, and it was all kinds of people in the blues market that you would have known,
Yeah.
So it was always fascinating to me, but it just kills me that Led Zeppelin and the Stones and all these bands are bringing over sounds to
Introducing
America.
American music to Americans.
Yeah. Well, and it was probably, birthed out of a little bit of the racial divide at the time. You know what I mean? Like back then, the white artists did not want their kids listening to the black artists, and the black artists really have always been where it is.
Right.
They're always way ahead.
Right.
Yeah. And again, a lot of that goes back to gospel. It goes back to the church almost always.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So it's fascinating to me that, all these kids in the 70s started going, oh, we love this stuff. And they're like, well, we were listening to your bands over there and trying to mimic your stuff. And this actually was birthed right here. It's mind blowing. So, fascinating.
So, Garvin Gate Blues Festival, I have to do this.
Do
the Four Roses stage on the 11th. Glory Jane and the 45s, Studebaker John and the Hawks. 9:30-11, Billy Flynn Blues Review featuring Willie Buck and Wallace Coleman. And then on the second stage, there's the Down in the Alley Records stage, 7:30, Jordan Wilson Coalition, and at 9:05, the Jordan Wilson Coalition. Saturday, the 12th,
Nice.
2 o'clock to 2:45, LTD Blues, 3:15 to 4, the Mudcats. 4:30 to 5:15, Cheryl Rouse and the Blues Brothers. 5:45
I'm
to
trying to
6.
get her in here.
Yeah, she'll be
Cheryl
great.
Rouse, yeah.
Oh, yeah. 5:45 to 6:30, the Stella V's. 7 to 8, Mike Wheeler Band. 8:30 to 9:30, Screamin' John and T.D. Lind.
All right. Now, I love Screaming John. I first got my music start with him.
Oh, yeah?
Jamming out with him, and Steve Cooley produced the first record I
Yeah.
ever did when I came to town
Yeah.
in my 20s.
Great. And then 10 to 11:15, Hazel Miller Band.
All right. Hazel Miller Band. You gotta love that.
Hazel's coming to town. I'm excited about
Hazel,
that. She hasn't been
yeah.
out forever. And then down in the Alley Records stage on Saturday, the Revelators, 5:20 and 6:35. King Bee and the Stingers, 8:05. And 9:30, 9:55, King Bee and the Stingers. Again.
King being the Stingers.
Yeah, they're out of Bloomington, I think. The
Bloomington,
Bloomington, Indiana
Yeah.
area, yeah. Good group. Lots of good music at the Garvin Gate Blues
I
Festival.
love me some Bloomington, too. That's the Bluebird Cafe up there.
Is-
Yeah, there's a Bluebird in Nashville and in Bloomington.
Okay.
Yeah, it's a venue up there because I got to meet Victor Wooten there.
Wow.
Yeah, and he autographed me a nice little drum head and all kinds of cool stuff. I was just standing in an alley, gonna go check out his show, and it's a little place called the Bluebird up there in Bloomington, and out he walks. And I was like, wow, I'm just standing in an alley by myself with Victor Wooten. And
Wow.
we had a long talk, and then his drummer JD Slate came out. They were playing as a duo that night, which is pretty awesome. If you're a bass player and a drummer and you can play by yourself as a duo, that's pretty awesome.
He can, that's for
He
sure. I've seen
can.
him on TV.
He
do it.
literally can just play by himself. I mean, he can keep drum rhythms while plucking bass lines and playing lead guitar lines over top of it. He literally can do everything.
I know.
Yeah.
I've seen him do it. Yeah.
Yeah, so awesome that you're getting to do that Garvin Gate Blues. You do that pretty much every year, right?
We the Mudcats have played it a lot. Yes, and we're just very grateful to Mike and Howard and the Blues Festival.
You know, I talk a lot about this on the show. The one good thing, we've got lots of great things here in Louisville, Kentucky, but the one major thing that I love about Louisville is that any night through the week you can go hear just about any genre of music. And now that I'm on the show and I'm looking for talent, I have found all kinds of interesting things. You know, blues, I talk about that all the time. You can go down to Steve Ray's, you can go wherever and hear a great blues band. We also have a jazz scene here. You know, Jimmy Can't Dance is really working on that.
Right.
And they've, you know, you can hear jazz almost any night of the week. We also have, I went up to, LRS had a thing up in the Highlands at Tap Room. That's where all the little metalhead kids hang out. So I went in there and there's like hundreds of metal kids, like, wow, you know, up on the bar. And I'm just like, whoa, this is nuts on like a Tuesday night, you know?
Yeah.
And then, of course, we're the home of the jug bands. I found all kinds of string bands. You can hear bluegrass all around town. Of course, we have a cover band scene here. You know,
Sure.
there's a little bit of everything. Our rock and roll scene is off the charts, you know, and now they've started. Have you heard of this? The Tiger Room. Have you heard of the Tiger Room yet?
No.
Well, let me educate you on the Tiger Room.
Okay.
'Cause LRS had a live remote there the other day. So basically, Trixie's, you know what Trixie's is?
Yeah.
All right, the big strip club.
Yeah.
They have a venue now in the back of Trixie's called the Tiger Room, and they bought the old toy tiger sign, and they have hung it up, and now it's a rock and roll venue.
Oh,
And we've been
wow.
broadcasting live there from shows.
Oh, Tiger Days. Ooh.
Yeah. So in the back of Trixie's, there's now a Tiger Room. And I hope I can say this on air. I think I can. But Denny Humphrey, who used to own the Monkey Ranch,
Yeah.
who's a great friend of mine, he now owns Jimmy Can't Dance.
Okay.
Well, he just bought the Dude Drop In. And he's going to revitalize that place, too.
Oh, wow.
So there's all kinds of cool things going on in Louisville. You know, venues come and go. I've talked about that a lot with some of the older artists that have been up in here. As you've probably seen it, lots of different venues going. If we go up here to Phoenix Hill, it's not Phoenix Hill anymore.
No, it's sad.
It is. You know what Ray Rizzo told me we should do? And I love this idea. Do you know who Ray Rizzo is?
Yeah.
All right. He's one of my favorite drummers and a great friend of mine. I stayed with him in New York City last year when I went, and he's just an awesome drummer. Anyway, he said that we should go rent out a condo at Phoenix Hill and put the radio station in there and have bands come in there, and then we can say we're broadcasting live from Phoenix Hill.
From Phoenix Hill.
And make one of the condos like a musician studio where bands come and play.
What a great idea.
He's a trip. I love that dude. Yeah, and I was like, that's kind of genius, you know, because
Yeah.
Phoenix Hill is no longer, of course, Jim Porter's no longer.
And they were such a big part of Louisville.
Oh, I
music
know.
history and
Yeah, music
the
history. And at
nightclub
one
scene.
I remember even when I was younger, sneaking in there on fake IDs, that you could still see music almost every night through the week in every venue of that place. And I've played almost every venue of that place.
Yep, me too.
At some point back in the day. But and same goes for Phoenix Hill. You know, I used to play Phoenix Hill all the time. So it's just it's sad to see those come and go.
It really is.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And we've got a lot of like singer-songwriter types of stuff. You know, that's why I started the Kentucky Beatniks, because as a duo, I can make a whole lot more money.
Yeah.
You know, if you're getting $500 a night, you're splitting that between two people. That's a lot more than splitting it between four or
Five,
five.
yeah.
Yeah. And a sound guy. You
Yeah.
know? Yeah. So by the time, you know, I just feel like Louisville loves to we have a lot more venues now that are more targeted to not so much bands, you know, because bands take up a lot of space. They take up a lot of PA equipment. And it's easier to just hire in a DJ or a karaoke dude, you know, to do it. So it's kind of sad in that sense, but we're going to pray that, you know, that more venues open up, like what Denny's doing, more people like that. You know, and then hopefully better, bigger venues will open up. Man, it's a busy Friday. You'd think it's a full moon or something.
Holiday weekend.
It is a holiday weekend. Yeah, we want everybody to be safe, FYI, and quit drinking. Quit drinking. Don't drink and drive.
If you drink Uber.
Yeah, exactly.
Or Lyft.
Uber
Or
or
walk.
Lyft, exactly. Oh man, you would not believe how many people I see come up into a venue, and I'm not dogging on this either, because I do know that the tap laws, you know, really did hurt venues, and we have talked a lot about that. Mark Barnes was up in here. We talked, you know, 2 or 3 artists have mentioned that they believe that those tap laws really killed everything. And not saying drinking and drive, you know, I'm not condoning drinking and driving at all. I'm very against that. But at the same time, I go to these venues and I still see these people getting trashed and driving home, you know, and it's pretty sad that you would take that, because all it takes is one little incident,
As we know.
Yes, as we know, absolutely. I've seen it a lot in my lifetime, So I just want to remind everybody to please be safe, and please try to Uber and try to Lyft if you're going to do that. If you're going out of town, then don't drink.
It's great.
It's really not that hard not to drink.
No, it's great. Good to have fun, and do what you do, but you want to be safe. Practice self-care.
Practice
Don't
self-care,
kill yourself.
Right? Yeah. Well, yeah. That's a whole nother animal. That's a whole nother topic for a whole nother day. I want to remind everybody that you can join LRS102.com Saturday, August 31st. That's the final outdoor summer concert series at Floyd County Brewing Company. That's at First and Main in New Albany. And you can get there and get a shot to win free VIP Bourbon and Beyond tickets. We will be broadcasting live from 8 to 11 with music from the Golden Ticket someday soon, Chris Rubino and the Newburgh Soul. So come on out and taste some fantastic craft beer, and you can hang out with the Walrus, listen to some great live music, and that's at Floyd County Brewing Company this weekend at First and Main in New Albany. So 8 to 11 p.m. Come on out and win you VIP Bourbon and Beyond tickets. Have you seen the lineup for Bourbon and Beyond?
I have.
Yeah.
Saturday release.
And Louder Than Life. Yeah, we're going to be covering both of those events here at LRS. So
great.
Yeah, we're super pumped. And like I said, let's go ahead and drop this one. If you don't know anything about World Fest, have you ever been to a World Fest?
I have. Yeah. Years ago.
Yeah. It's a really cool event. We've got it right here on the Belvedere. It runs August 30th through September 2nd. It's the 17th annual event this year. And, of course, it offers 4 days of international food, music, culture, and, everything you can think of is there. They've got a fountain stage. There's an overlook stage. And it says the fountain stage will be programmed with actual fountain movements.
Well.
Ooh. So I guess that means you get to play and like fountain, things are blowing up in front of you or something. I don't know. Also, the University of Kentucky Confucius Institute will have a main stage there, which is fantastic.
That's interesting.
Lots of headliners, lots of great bands from Louisville, Kentucky. I had Rick DeBow up in here earlier this week. He was talking about he's going to be there on the fountain stage. My lady Marjorie Marshall's up in there. Tanita Gaines is up in there. The Juggernauts Jug Band is going to be there. I mean, literally, you can get everything from Latin music to reggae music to, Mexican dance music to, if you want gumbo blues, you got that. And Middle Eastern jazz, Indian, Caribbean. I mean, literally every style of music across the board is there.
Love it.
Yeah, me too. Isn't that so cool that Louisville hosts something like that? And I believe it's a free festival too. You literally just go and there's no price. And I mean, the lineup here is insanity. It goes on forever. So if you've got nothing to do this weekend, take your kids up there. There's over 150 vendors and over 40 plus food vendors of all styles.
Always something to do. Something to do.
Exactly. And you can join us. LRS will be broadcasting live Sunday from 9 to 11. Yeah.
Cool.
So, yeah, we want everybody to join and do that. Hey, so Sue, let's talk about the creative part of music because that's one of my favorite topics ever. I love to talk about this with everybody who comes up in here. I myself use my music for my own therapy, obviously. Lots of people use music for different things. What do you feel like you use music for?
Well, I'm a lot like you, Jen. It's therapy.
Yeah.
Somebody says something that speaks to me, just a simple line, oh, that sounds like a song or, or something that I can internalize and work on.
Yeah.
So it's very personal and it is therapy. It's getting, my thoughts out.
On paper.
Yeah. Out there for the universe.
Well, one thing that I have always loved to do more than anything else is to put out my own records. And most of those records have been put out with band names, not under my own name, or with other artists. And I always feel like music is all about the collaboration.
Yes, I love to collaborate.
Yeah, because there's a kabillion people who could play drums, right? But there's only, one Jen Yates who can have that chemistry with somebody. You know what I mean? And vice versa.
Yes.
And just use my name as an example. I'm not trying to be conceited. But, it is about the chemistry. When you look at a band like Fleetwood Mac, right? I mean, they had multiple different people kind of rolling through, but the one that mainly stuck is the one that we associate with Fleetwood Mac today, right? Which is with Lindsay and Stevie and Christy McVie, all that, right? They had a chemistry unlike no other, no matter how much they were fighting behind the scenes. Because we talked a lot about with Ray Rizzo, because he's in the Back to Mac tribute,
Yeah.
as well as the Steely Danish and every other band in this country he's in. I literally had interviewed somebody from New York City, and I was telling him about it, and he goes, "Oh yeah, I'm in a band with her." And I went, "Of course you're in a band with her." Yeah, she was the lead singer of Led Zeppelin, who is the all-female cover band of Led Zeppelin. Also, she's now touring with Hedwig and the Angry Inch across the United States. It's just a friend of mine that I got hooked up with when I was up there. Anyway, we talked a lot about that, the making of the Rumors documentary. Have you seen that?
I have not.
Oh, I highly recommend you watch it. To see how they wrote that record, they all hated each other, first off.
I've read something about that.
Oh, yeah. They would not even be in the same recording studio space together. None of them. They all hated each other. And their songs were writing about each other.
Uh-huh.
And then the producer was like, "This is brilliant. Let's do this." And he was like dodging, Stevie can't come in when this one's in, and that one can't come in when this one. So they never really recorded everything all together. It was all separated. So the fact that record went on to be as big of a hit as it is today is mind-blowing to me, right? But that just goes to show you, it's not about the playing, it's about the chemistry. And even though they hated each other, they had that chemistry together, and made a magical record. Yeah. So, when you write, what do you mainly draw influence? Is it just anything in your everyday life? Or is it, like you said, maybe some line somebody said that you overheard? Where do you pull from your influences? Do you just let it happen naturally?
Well, it just, really just depends on what, speaks to me at the time. Like I said, somebody can say something that, and it speaks to me.
Profound.
And and then I can take it from there. I can take that little line and internalize it for myself. Yeah. It's not their experience anymore. It's my experience.
Correct.
And, like you talk about Rumors with Fleetwood Mac.
Yeah.
That came from a very personal place from them.
Oh, yeah.
For them. And that's why, in my mind, it was a hit.
In my mind, pain and love come from the exact same place.
Yes.
And I've written about that line, too. In a song called Clean Socks that me and Bev did, we wrote pain and love both come from the same place. You keep your chin up and a smile on your face because pain and love both come from the same place. Yeah. And Beautiful. It's the truth. It is, but it's the truth. You know what I mean? Yeah. So that's interesting because I have a hard time writing from like someone else's perspective.
You have to write what you know.
Yeah, and I agree. And I've even taken classes. Like when I was doing the Welcome to the Queendom record, I took a class with Renee that basically they would give you a prompt. They would give you a lyrical prompt, and they would give you a musical prompt. And then you had like a month to make, or maybe even less than a month. I think it was like 2 weeks to produce a song and then share it with everybody else in the class.
Wow.
So to hear what everybody else got out of that one prompt was fascinating. And it forced me to write almost every week, And I feel like songwriting is just like a musical instrument or just like singing. You've got to do it almost every day or consistently every day to get better at it.
Yes.
Yeah. And I think the one thing that I love about being creative is that there are no rules. There are literally no rules when it comes to music, I would be taking like a piano lesson and I'd be like, oh, I have to stay in this key, right? I have to stay in this key and I can only hit these notes and da-da-da-da-da. Until a music teacher went, not really. You can go anywhere you want. You can break that key and go into a different key, or you can play, minor seconds right beside each other and they clash, but it's still used for a lot of like scary music or, video game boss scenes or something like that.
Depends on what you want to project.
It blew my mind because I was like, wait, you mean I can do anything I want with these 12 notes in any octave? And they were like, yes. And I was like, well, that just blew my mind. You know what I mean? What do you mean there are no options? There are no rules. There's no box for me to live in.
The world is my oyster.
Yeah, so that kind of blew my mind, and then I started kind of writing totally different from that. But I have found that naturally, because I'm a rhythmic player, I play a rhythm instrument, even though they are pitched at times. I tend to write from a groove. I tend to write to a rhythm in my head, and obviously, I was heavily influenced by hip hop growing up. I had the first Grandmaster Flash, The Message, what they consider the first hip hop record of all time. As soon as it came out, when Salt and Pepper was out, I knew every word. When Little Kim dropped, I knew every Little Kim line.
Yeah.
So just naturally, to me, hip hop was in my soul because it's really about the rhythm and the vocal, and that's it. And I talked to this with a conductor I had up in here, the Louisville Civic Orchestra. He said, the fascinating thing about hip hop is it takes out tone, it takes out tonality, which is generally needed to express emotion in songs, which makes it a magical musical genre because it doesn't need that.
Right.
It's just about the vocal line and the beat
And the rhythm, yeah.
and some kind of weird sample usually, and that's it. Which is kind of fascinating when you think about it. Yeah, it doesn't. A lot of it doesn't really move anywhere or any of that stuff.
Right.
It's just the same thing over and over again.
Right.
Yeah, and another thing about music is you might have like a Sondheim who can write these amazing musical theater pieces, Into the Woods or Sweeney Todd or any of that stuff, and it's still all made up of the same 12 notes that we see. 12 notes make up everything that we have heard, from something as simplistic to something that's just immaculately,
Right.
in depth.
A masterpiece, yeah.
Yeah. It's fascinating to me, right? And there's only so many rhythms. Max Maxwell talked about that. There's only so many rhythms in the world. There's only so many notes in the world, And we're Western music, obviously, a little bit different than other styles of music, but in Western music, we only have 12 notes. So it's fascinating when you look back and go, wow, everything we hear is made up of that. And it doesn't matter the genre of music either.
Right.
It's just on different instruments.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm always
Fascinating, right?
amazed how, another artist could, take the same ring their heart out on, one note.
Mm-hmm.
And, how did they do that? How did they make that one note resonate? Where literally I can hit that note.
Yeah.
But I can't make it resonate like they did.
Yeah.
That's their emotion.
Yeah.
Not my emotion.
Yeah.
And, I think that's what makes why it's personal to
Yeah.
everyone.
Mm-hmm.
I can't be Jen Yates.
Yeah.
You can't
Not
be
be
Susan
Sue
O'Neill.
O'Neill, right.
I can't be Jennifer Laletta or Rick O'Neill. Or,
Right.
When you recognize that in yourself, then you can truly write and truly create. And so, you're not trying to copy.
Yeah.
Of course you've got your influences, but
But isn't everything a copy at this point?
well,
12 notes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You have to rearrange them.
Every rock and
For
roll
yourself.
song in the world is basically a blues song recopied in some weird way. I mean, Zeppelin is a great example of that.
Yeah.
Pretty much everything that they wrote was a copy of something else.
I mean, and just learning the little bit I've learned on ukulele. I mean, you can literally take 3 chords, the same 3 chords, and do hundreds of songs.
Oh, yeah. Oh, I'm the queen of that one. Yeah.
I didn't realize that. I
Yeah.
wasn't. I was always trying to, in my mind, reinvent the wheel.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
When you realize that and understand that, it
Yeah.
makes a huge difference.
Right.
It has to me. Anyway.
Well, I always say I'm a teacher of music, but I'm a student first, because you can always learn something. That's the magical part about music, is no matter what you're studying, you could study every cover band every cover song in the world, but there's always going to be more to learn. You know
Absolutely.
what I mean? And writing is a whole nother animal. I feel like it opens it up to your imagination, to your emotion, to get your stuff out. I use mine, like I said, I use it for closure for things that I cannot get closure with in everyday life, because I'm a person who needs closure for things. And if I don't get that, then I'm going to be stuck for life, I feel like, until I write about it.
So get it out. Yeah.
Right. That's my only way of getting it out. And I cannot stand people who are like, oh, you just need to get over stuff. No, you don't get to tell me when I get over things. I get over them when I get over them. You can't just tell anybody just to get over something. So if kids had more of an outlet, like an expressional outlet like music, writing their own stuff, painting their own stuff, whatever it is. I feel like we would have a lot less school shootings today. I feel like, instead of going in and shooting up some kid that they hate, we'll let them write a song about them and express themselves through that song. That's what Eminem does. He rips his own mom a new one. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
He says whatever he's got to say, and he plays a character. And he will admit that, and there's a lot of artists out there that play characters, I feel like.
Sure.
Even Beyonce says she's Sasha Fierce.
That's what came to my mind.
Yeah.
When you said that.
Yeah. Which I feel like I'm Bitch Mitchell when I'm playing a character a little bit. I'm playing a character and being like, up yours, or whatever it is that I want to say, or I don't like the way you treated me, or whatever it is,
Yeah.
But I find it hard to write when I'm happy. I rarely write happy. Somebody dared me 2 nights ago. They said, I'm going to give you to December to write a happy song. And I said, yeah, good luck. You're probably going to be waiting until after my death, because I've tried. It just doesn't come across. Yeah. Now with Bev, though, we could write funny things. Mm-hmm. Yeah. And we would be like, hey, everything we're writing is coming true. Let's start to put stuff in the music that we want to come true.
That's a good idea.
Yeah, we did. And then we started talking about winning Grammys and and all this stuff that we wanted to come true. So I thought that was also a fascinating concept. But with her, we just laughed. We laughed the whole time, whether we were making fun of somebody or making a puppet show or whatever it was. It was just music. So I feel like that was the only time I was really, really happy in writing music.
Uh-huh.
Yeah. So maybe we'll hold out and see, but I doubt they're going to ever get a happy song out of me.
I hear you.
Yeah. I am much more of the rawr. I just have, and I feel like to be a drummer, you have to have that. I don't know. You play bass, right, Rick? Yeah, I was going to say you probably know more than anybody else. And I forget what famous drummer it is maybe Billy Cobham or something. He says the reason you keep getting hired back is because of your confidence. You cannot have it. If you think about it, any drummer you're never going to meet a weak drummer. If you meet a weak drummer, you're probably not going to hire that person. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? They have to be as strong because it is the foundational instrument.
Yes.
You cannot have melody if you don't have rhythm. You can have rhythm. Rhythm is the foundation. I always like to teach my kids that. You cannot have rhythm without a melody. I'm sorry. You can have melody without a rhythm, but you cannot have rhythm without a melody. Mm-hmm. Wait, did I say that right? No, I said it backwards. Every melody has to have rhythm.
Yeah.
Every rhythm does not have to have melody. That's what I'm meaning to say. So, therefore, rhythm, you cannot have melody or harmony or any of that if you don't have a rhythm foundation. Yeah. Yeah. So rhythm is the foundation.
Yeah, that was something that that spoke to me. I think I saw a interview, Michael Jackson and might have been Barbara Walters. Mm-hmm. And, they were just sitting on the side of the stage, and she was like, well, he was talking about, something that, writing a song and, how he wrote. And it amazed me. He always started out with a little, before he sang a note, mm-hmm. he started out with the rhythm, even if it was with his mouth,
most of his rhythms were with his mouth.
Thing, yeah. Mm-hmm. And then he would start singing, yeah. Mm-hmm. And, that spoke to me. It was like, oh, that's what's missing in why I'm having trouble pulling this together.
Yeah.
I don't have rhythm. I have words. And rarely ever got melody.
Yeah.
Until somebody started playing,
right.
for me or with me, and then I could pick out a melody.
Yeah.
But until there was rhythm.
Mm-hmm. By the way, speaking of that, if you have not heard the way he wrote Beat It, you should definitely check that out. Back in the day of Michael Jackson, there was a famous drum machine called the Linn drum machine. Linn drum machine. And he also, back then, they had the little 4-track and 8-track things. So he had a little 4 and 8-track things, and he would lay down a rhythmic vocal something with his mouth. He would do the whole drum beat that way. So he would do the kicks, boom, ba-boom, ba-boom, or whatever. Then he'd go back and do the hi-hats, with his mouth, right? Yeah. And he literally, they have released it somewhere online. It's him, just the 4-track that he took to the producer, who I think was Quincy Jones, if I'm not mistaken, and was like, this is my idea for a song. I want to recreate this drum-wise. And then they ended up leaving that in the track somehow. And I mean, it's just mind-blowing just to hear beat it on just like basically he was doing
Mouthing the drum parts.
yeah, vocal drums they call it now, or beatboxing, basically. You know, beatboxing on different tracks.
Right.
Yeah. Fascinating if you haven't heard that, because it blew my mind to hear it. And I don't know where I found it, but it was somewhere online. It's crazy. Everything's online today, isn't it?
Yes.
And that's what I
Can't
always
get
say.
away with anything.
No. And also, that's another important reason I think people should write more music and create their own stuff, is because when we pass on, what we are going to be remembered by are those tracks. I doubt people are going to be going back watching your Facebook videos going, oh, yeah, they did this cover song. What they're going to be sharing is your YouTube videos of, oh, yeah, they put out that record, and I love this song, and I love that song. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. Not saying they won't, but I think that's what's going to happen. And even look at like YouTube, our iTunes is going down. You know what I mean? So all those tracks going to be gone bye-bye at some point, you know.
Yeah.
YouTube is the main thing right now. It's the number one most discovered site in the entire world.
Huh.
Yeah. Even people like Bette Midler will say they sit around and they watch people doing their
Their
stuff.
YouTube stuff.
They'll watch, they'll just try to find new artists through YouTubing and whatnot.
Yeah.
So YouTube is super important these days. And I mean, you have grandkids, don't you? Kids and grandkids?
I do, yes.
Yeah. What are they doing nowadays? Are they YouTubing?
Oh, probably.
I guarantee they
I'm
are.
Sure, yeah, I'm sure our youngest is. I don't know about our oldest. He's
Yeah.
raising his kids.
Yeah, I hear you. Yeah, it's fascinating to me, though, because literally, like you said, you can find anything on YouTube today. You can find a tutorial. I found a tutorial to rewire my entire bus if I wanted one. You know what I mean? It's amazing. Yeah. It blows my mind. Anytime I have a question about how I do something, I'll YouTube it. And then sometimes you'll get in that wormhole of, oh, how do I remodel my entire house for $20 at the Family Dollar Tree, or at the Dollar Tree? Oh, there's a video on how to do that.
Of course there is.
Yeah, you buy crazy contact paper and contact paper you would paneling, just something. It looks like brand new, I don't know. It's crazy. There's some crazy ones out there.
Yeah.
My favorites, though, is I make playlists out of, there's all this meditational stuff on there. And do you know anything about like 432 hertz is like the hertz that's supposed to vibration? No, you don't know any of this?
No.
I want to educate you, because this is what I do every night. I sleep to these sounds, and I love to sleep with some sort of sound, whether it's a fan blowing, or usually I'll do campfire sounds, or like a wood burning something. Anyway, if you go to YouTube, there are all these videos, and there are these. Have you ever had the meditational bowls done on you? Do you know what I'm talking about?
Nope.
No. Okay.
I'm out of it.
All right. Well,
apparently.
I'm about to get way out there with you. So there are these crystal bowls, right? And then you scrape them around with a certain tool, like a wine glass.
Okay.
So if you're taking your finger and you're ringing around, you can make certain sounds.
Crystal,
All right.
yeah.
Well, they do this with gigantic crystal bowls, and some of them make these elaborate sounds, and they use them for healing purposes. They use them for meditational purposes, stuff like that. The first time I had one done, I laid, this medicine woman laid me on this thing and had me close my eyes, and she did some sage with bird feather around my head. She was and all this stuff with her vocal, and then she got out these bowls and she started doing this thing and going around, and it made this hum sound at a certain hertz. Right?
All right.
Because we can't see sound waves, but they're all at hertzes.
Yeah.
All the pitches have a hertz equal to them. So certain hertzes are known for healing for certain different things. 432 is like your heart chakra, right? It's supposed to break open that bust open that, where like a 600 and some other hertz might be something for like your root chakra, or your head, whatever it is, right? Crown chakra, I think they call it. 432 is supposed to be the most healing of all the pitches. So at night, I will go find one of those, like, 432 meditational music. This one's supposed to bust open that. And then I will play it for hours while I sleep. Because supposedly when you sleep, it's supposed to help you. I don't know. But I sleep better when I do it. I will say that. Yeah. But the meditational bow thing, it really blew my mind, because she put it on my stomach, and I immediately started crying. Huh. It just kind of like vibrated something in me that just was like, wow. But there's a lot of people out there that believe there's a whole group of medicine based on nothing but vibrational sound in our body. Yeah. Fascinating, huh?
It is fascinating.
Yeah, even
yes.
in the 20s, they claimed that they might have had the cure for cancer through vibrational stuff, like vibrating certain pieces of your
body.
Yeah, it's fascinating.
It is fascinating.
Go research up on that. I'm not a conspiracy theorist, really, but I do believe in sound healing, and music healing and music therapy kind of stuff.
Yeah,
that's
definitely.
kind of along the same lines of this stuff. So yeah, if you've ever looked at, if you've ever been in a recording studio and they show you the sound design platform, each pitch is going to have a different hertz, obviously.
Okay, yeah.
So in sound, it's basically all the same thing,
Same thing.
Yeah. Obviously, like a flute would be a higher hertz, or like a timpani would be a super low one, or a bass drum would be super low. Yeah. So fascinating stuff, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, good. I could teach you
feel
something
smarter.
today. I know. Oh, man. We're going to take a short break. I am joined by Sue O'Neill. You're locked into LRS102.com. We're talking all things music, the Mudcats, Garvin Gate Blues Festival, NAB, as you call it. New Albany. Is it New Albany Blues and Barbecue?
Blues, brew, and barbecue.
Blues, brews, and barbecue. It needs to be NAB with B to the third power.
NABBB. That's what
Right.
their logo is. NABBB.
Oh, is it? NABBB. Yeah. All right. Well, we're going to kick it in with some John Mellencamp because I always loved him. This is back in his Cougar days. It's Hurt So Good. You're locked on to Jyneration Nation, LRS102.com, Louisville's Rock Street. It's Fleetwood Mac with Gypsy. You're locked on to LRS102.com. I am Jen Yates. I'm joined by Miss Sue O'Neill, singer of the Mudcats. How are you doing, Sue?
Doing great today,
Awesome.
Jen.
I figured since we were talking so much about Fleetwood Mac that I would spin some Gypsy. It's one of my all-time favorites. It's hard to pick a favorite Fleetwood Mac track, right? They've got so many.
Yeah.
And there's so many of them that sing different parts. That's one thing I did love always about Fleetwood Mac is... you're never going to hear Mick Fleetwood sing usually, but you're going to hear pretty much everybody else.
Yeah.
Yeah. They all do something. In fact, one of my favorites, I always love to hear Lindsey sing. I really love his voice. And I love Christy McVie's voice. And of course, we just love them all. They're just awesome.
Yeah.
But yeah, a lot of people don't know that. Well, a lot of the older people know, but a lot of younger people do not know that Fleetwood Mac is, originally was a band around for many years before, the other two joined up.
They were a blues band.
Yeah, and they were a blues band, right? Peter Green and all that stuff. Yeah. Fascinating story of a band. Taking many, many, many different turns throughout their career. So we've got a few more minutes left in our show. We've been talking about all the creative process. I was just educating you on the hertz and all that stuff. That's more of a production thing, I feel like. But if you really study hertz, there are some fascinating things out there about healing. And I've had a lot of music therapists in on the show. In fact, I had Cheyenne Mize in, who just left to go to Dublin to study dementia and music and how music can help with the healing of dementia.
Really?
Yes. I forget what college she's going to be studying that at, but they literally are going to do like a whole year's worth of studies at a college. So I've had a lot of people in here talking about how music heals people, and vice versa. And music is such a broad, it's such a broad topic. There's so many different facets of it, from teaching it to being a student of it to playing in an orchestra to playing in a rock band or a blues band to playing, to writing jingles for a local radio station. I mean, there's so many different facets of music. And every time I think I know a lot about it, then I found that I know hardly nothing.
Right.
Yeah. And like I said, student first, teacher later, always. Yeah. So where do you see your career going from here? Are you wanting to make more records? I know we just were talking about, we're both on a record coming out soon by Mr. Alan Morris.
Yeah. Yeah. Right now, like I said, since I've just taken up the ukulele.
Yeah. I love that, by the way. You should have brought it in.
Oh,
Played
no,
something
no,
for
no. Nobody will ever hear me play it. It's just a tool to help me
Yeah.
write.
You
And
know, the
I
ukulele
really like
is
the
interesting.
writing.
Yeah, I was gonna say ukulele only has 4 strings, right?
Right.
So all I only know this because I know a lot of people who play ukulele is a lot of their chord structures for their fingerings are completely different than say a guitar or some other stringed instrument.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. Because, Rick plays guitar and he plays bass, and I handed
Yeah.
him the ukulele. He goes, I don't know how to play
Yeah.
this.
Their chords are different.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's different, and I'm of the thought if I can learn it, anybody can learn it.
Mm-hmm.
Because all these years,
Yeah.
I don't know why I never picked up an instrument. I really don't. I really regret that I didn't
Yeah.
sooner,
Yeah.
than later. But in terms of where I'm going with my career, I'm going to sing as long as people come out to hear me sing.
Yeah. I hear you.
And what I really am interested in doing at this point is mentoring the younger people.
Same. Yeah.
Find a vocalist that, has a passion for all music.
Right.
And, teaching them something about the blues.
Yeah. Absolutely.
And, just pushing them along and mentoring and encourage them. I'm all about, encouraging other musicians and other
Yeah.
vocalists and propping them up.
Yeah.
Don't tear anybody down. Encourage them.
Yeah. Lord, I've lived through half of that here
Yeah.
in this city. I know
Yeah.
that. Yeah, I've had a lot of tearing down in my day,
Yeah.
which has made me, thankfully, way stronger. So thank y'all
Yes.
for that. No, but what I was going to tell you about the mentoring other people. This is why, every time somebody tells me, oh, you should get a real job, this is why I don't listen, because I feel like for the past 12 years now, I have given back every day through the week to some sort of child or kid, or even I have adult students now. I have an adult that has brain cancer right now, and his favorite thing in the world to do is for me to come over and play drums with him. And I do it once a week for an hour. And I was like, I wouldn't even take money. If I could just, live comfortably, I wouldn't even take people's money to do it.
Right.
I really wouldn't, but I do it for a living, obviously. But I feel like no matter what, I'm giving back to the community. I'm giving kids the tools of music, and I'm giving them the knowledge that I have. You know what I mean? And, I don't care if people look at it like it's not a real job or not. When I die, I guarantee every one of those people I taught are going to be touched by me in some
Absolutely.
way, in a positive way.
Absolutely.
So yeah, you tear me down all you want, but I'm doing what I'm doing
Right.
for a reason, and I do feel like music is healing. And I feel like more than just about anybody, I've taught a lot of autistic kids. I've taught kids with many disabilities. I was talking about teaching I had a mute student at one point. She could not speak. And we literally, she was with me for over a year and a half, and she's still playing. She couldn't speak, but we communicated through music.
Yeah.
And through me showing her. We didn't even have to talk. So I feel like, that's one of the greatest thing in music that you can do is to give somebody else the tools, help them. And then now I sit back and I look in the LRS playlist and I go, yep, that's one of my kids right there. I taught him on drums, and now they're selling out headliners and touring the country.
Uh-huh.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I did something right. I mean, the kid was already good when he got to me, but at least I got him for a couple years, and at least I showed him something.
Right.
So I think that is one of the greatest things you can do. And I'm honestly tired of people telling me to get a real job.
You say, I have a real job.
Yeah,
This is my job.
I know, and I'm sitting right here doing another real job.
Right.
So yeah, exactly. Just because it's fun doesn't mean it's not a real job.
That's right.
But I think musicians hear that more than anybody,
Yeah.
though. Yeah.
I think it's because you say, okay, I'm going to go play.
Mm-hmm.
And then people think, oh, play. Well, you're not working.
Right.
Well, trust me, it's work.
Well, and I think people have different mentalities about that, and that's why I'm trying to get away from that these days. The pros that I always worked with, like I mentioned Kelly Ritchie, I mentioned Beverly McClellan, I mentioned Julie Wolfe, who took me to L.A., they all did it professionally, 100%. And when you do it professionally, you look at it in a different light than if you just go to a 9-to-5 job and you're doing it on the side. It's not a party. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
It's not a party, it's a job. So when you go to your job, you're expected not to be trashed. You're expected to be professional. You're expected to look a certain way.
Be on time.
Be on time. Yes, exactly. And at the same time, I feel like, if you do it for just the party aspect, then that is not being professional. And that's not looking at it the correct way. And I'm at the point in my career where I really don't want to get on a stage with anybody who's going to have a cocktail on a stage.
Yeah.
Because I've just seen it destroy everything.
Yeah.
And I feel like in a day, in an era where we have video cameras in our face at all times, which I've already said, I would wear a live stream on my body at all times and let people log in and just watch this shit, because I'm going to donate more money to charity. Because you would not believe what happens to me on a daily basis, you know what I mean? Or what's said to me. I mean, shoot, I was chased out of a club on Friday night just by a straight dude who was just threatening me left and right, and I'm so tired of that. It was just, he slapped me on the ass. Oh yeah, one of those. And I turned around and kind of read him the right act, because I am the wrong one to do that to. I was like, you might be able to do that to a lot of other chicks, but I'm not one of them.
Right.
Yeah, and I've seen other guys do this quite often. No offense, Rick, because it's not every man, But at the same time, I turned around and I said, I'm not interested in you. I've been out for 25 years. Da, 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 da. Well, then it became this challenge. Then he follows me to, over here. And then he follows me outside. And then he's trying to follow me to my car. And if I'd had a taser, I'd have tased his ass right there. I'm not going to lie. Yeah. Oh, ding, 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 ding. I'm donating all kinds of money to charity today. Yeah. No, but no kidding, because I just, there are certain places I go that I stick with my same little places because I feel comfortable.
Right.
I am a single female, 40 years old, never married, no kids. So I go to many places alone. Mm-hmm. And I feel like more than just about anybody else, I have faced a lot of, because of the way I look, or because of the way I am, or because of being very honest about my sexuality, that sometimes it becomes a threat to some people, or it becomes a challenge, one of the two. And I'm like, you trust me, 25 years, you ain't gonna get this. Trust me on that, Right.
Well, Jen, you're one of these people, you've got a electrical field around you. You walk in a room and you're noticed. You don't have to do a thing.
Right.
By the way, that's just a thing that some people have, that some people don't.
Yeah.
And
I don't mean to have it. Trust
I know.
Me
well,
that.
it's something that you really can't.
I don't know if it's a good thing or a bad thing. I can't figure that out. Because I can also walk in a room and everybody hate me. I almost dropped the F-bomb. I did that a couple weeks ago. But no, what I was going to tell you is, this guy, you will appreciate this because you just said that. I was playing Joe's Older Than Dirt the other day with my Kentucky Beatniks guy, Nick Payne, which we started an acoustic electronic duo. And funny because he is also out. So everybody always comes up and thinks we're a couple, which makes me laugh because I'm like, no, I'm gay and he's gayer. No. Like, we're great friends, you know what I mean? But other than that, some guy walked up to me, and you tell me what you think about this. He didn't know anything about us. He probably only caught the last 3 songs because we did some hip hop at the very end. We're 2 white people, all right?
Yeah.
He walks up and he goes, 2 things. Like, I wanted to know his, like, I asked for your opinion, but he walks up and goes, 2 things, and he's 3 sheets to the wind. Meanwhile, I'm completely sober.
Right.
And I'm like, yeah, what is it? He goes, first off, you need an African-American in your band. That's what he said to me. And I kind of looked at him like, I couldn't figure out if it was a racist comment or if it was just the way that I was perceiving it. But I kept thinking, why did he say that? That was interesting. And then he goes, number 2, he goes, you need to stand out more. That's what he said to me.
To you?
He said that to me. And one of my parents that I teach, her son, happened to be there. And she's standing right next to me. And she goes, oh, obviously you have no idea who you're talking to. And I go, yeah, I need to stand out more. I just looked at her real funny. I said, even my haircut makes me stand out. Right. Like, There's nothing that's not, I'm up there behind drums rapping while I'm triggering electronics and playing live over top of it. That's something I can't even find on YouTube.
Right.
You know what I mean? So I thought, wonder what he meant by that. He was probably just trashed. And
I think he had too many beers. Yeah.
But the you need an African American to join your band kind of threw me for a loop too.
Yeah.
I thought, what is he trying to say? That I'm white and we're doing hip hop and we need somebody to make us look more authentic? Like, I couldn't figure out where he was coming from with it,
Right.
Nor did I really want to know where he was coming, because I just kind of I was like, man, I'm trying to load up. Can you get
Unsolicited
on the way?
advice. Yeah.
Yeah, I didn't ask for your thing. And then the third comment was the same. Oh, I guess y'all are a married couple, huh? That's what he said. And I said, no, I'm gay, and he's gayer. And his comment was, well, that's okay with me. And then I thought, I didn't ask if it was okay
Right.
with you. Again, unsolicited advice. Yeah, but it's just so weird, some of the comments that we get when we come off stage of something
yeah.
like that. Yeah, I'm sure you've probably gotten that.
Oh, a million times.
Yeah.
Yeah. So you
I've
just
gotten
kinda
into
gotta
it.
look at people.
I know, and I get it all the time. Well, you're pretty good for a girl. And I'm like, yeah, no kidding. Speaking of that, though, I just wanted to drop this. There was the book that came out a few years ago on women drummers.
Right.
The week after my birthday, which is September 28th, the same day you're playing NABBB, they are putting out a world premiere of a film that is on women drum set players that I'm in, with Todd Sugarman of Styx, the drummer of Chicago, the people who founded Drumeo, the people who do Drum Talk TV. All these people from all over the world are in it, and the specific topic is women drummers and gender. Does gender play a role in drumming better as a female or male? And it's a fascinating film, and it's a 2-hour documentary that's going to hit film festivals as well as be released nationwide in theaters.
Have you seen it?
I have not. They won't let me see
So
it.
you don't know what the conclusion is there, but
I know what it's going to be,
Yeah.
but the filmmaker and me are great friends. And in fact, you'll love this. She contacted me and she was like, hey, we want to premiere this in Nashville. They're in Canada. They've never even been to Nashville. And they're like, we know you've got contacts down in Nashville, could you help us? So I was like, well, let me think about this. So I was like, wait a minute, I know somebody who helped build the Symphony Hall in Nashville. So I contacted her, and she said, oh, yeah, put them in contact with me. Well, I didn't know it. She said on some kind of international Nashville Women's Film Festival, something. And next thing you know, the documentary's, going to be at the Nashville Symphony with now BMI's involved and ASCAP and
Dang.
CSAC and all these drum companies and Yamaha and Ludwig and all this. And they're all flying into Nashville to meet there for this big premiere. So that's going to be coming up the week after my birthday.
great.
Yes, and I'm very excited about that because she did not let me see the part, but she said, you have a huge feature in it. And they followed me around teaching my kids. They followed me around doing interviews. I also submitted footage of me and Bev playing. They picked a couple of Hillbilly Swagger songs for the soundtrack, so that's going to be on there. And then they set me down and asked me all kinds of questions about had I ever faced discrimination as a female on stage, from a local level to a national level. And I think all of us have at some point.
Sure.
And I don't think it makes a difference whether you're female or male playing any instrument. I think it's across the board equal. You know what I mean? And as it should be.
Right. Just
Yeah.
depends on your skill,
Yeah.
Doesn't matter. Doesn't matter if you're a man or a woman.
Right,
It's
exactly.
just-
So we'll see the conclusion, but I'm pretty sure that's going to be the conclusion. Is
Yeah.
that I did see Todd Sugarman's interview, and he said, it's all BS, basically. He's like, it doesn't matter if you're male or female. So I'm going to get to meet him, which is super cool. He's highly admired as one of the top drummers in the country, even though Styx, was a band, and I think they've moved to Nashville now. They were in LA for a while, and then they moved to Nashville, of course, kind of progressive rock kind of
Right.
stuff. But he himself has made a name in the drumming industry, and he's highly regarded as like one of the top players, and he's put out videos and books and all kinds of cool stuff. So just to be included in that was really awesome.
Yes, it is.
Yeah, and to hook them up, because all of a sudden I was getting phone calls going, holy crap, Jen, we're in the Symphony Hall, and and these people are all covering it. And these people, by the way, if anybody wants tickets, you're welcome to come. They're going to roll out the red carpet and have a big old premiere and food things, and then afterwards, all the drummers have a place rented out to go jam together and downtown Nashville. Yeah, so it's going to be really fun.
Sounds like fun.
I hope so. We'll see. Every time I try to run from Nashville, they suck me right back in. I either try to run from Louisville and Louisville sucks me back in, or I try to get in Nashville. It's both. I'm just kind of like this in this tug of war between the two cities. Oh, yeah. You've gotten to play Nashville, haven't you?
No.
No, never?
Nope.
Oh, man. Nashville's a cool town, but don't expect to get paid.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's
We
why I
had a
love this
thing,
city.
going years and years ago, someplace in Nashville, and we ended up, the Mudcats, we ended up not doing it.
Yeah.
I think it was, you can come down here and play for the Door, and we were like, well, no.
Yeah, no. Well, and that's what they say to me. I mean, I've never played for the Door in Nashville. I've always made money, but it's never been great. And even here in Louisville, I'm making really good at the Pride Festival and stuff like that. But if I make $100 an hour teaching, do I want to go out here and drag 300 pounds of equipment out and set it up and play it for 3 hours and then tear it down and then put it back in my car and then take it home and take it back out of my car? Like by the time you're done, it's 5 or 6 hours of work.
Right.
And I've made the same amount of money teaching one kid as I have in 1 hour as I have in like 6 hours at a club. So that's why I'm like, with nerve damage in my hand right now, I'm just not going to kill myself anymore like that. And I feel like I don't have to, because I've made a book with some of the top players in the country, and I've made a film with some of the top players across the world. I feel like I don't have to beat myself up anymore. So for me, I'm gonna just keep putting out records, and writing about things, and writing about people, and writing about experiences that I've lived, and telling my truth, and saying what I've got to say. And that's what music is about, right?
It's about doing what makes you happy.
That's exactly right. Yes, and if it doesn't make you happy, then find something.
Find something else.
That will.
That's right.
Yep, exactly right. Well, Sue O'Neill, it's been awesome having you up in here today.
Been awesome doing this.
Yeah.
I've been really excited to come
And we're
do
kicking
this.
off our Labor Day weekend just right, aren't we?
Yes.
Yeah, do you have big plans this weekend?
Oh, got a couple things going on. Yeah.
Okay, that's cool. That's cool. Most people be on the lake or whatever, and camping or out, and hopefully they're at World Fest or whatnot, doing their thing. And we wish everybody, a safe and happy holiday weekend. Again,
Yes,
don't
indeed.
drink or drive. If you're going to be out there doing your thing, take a Lyft, take an Uber.
Designated driver.
DD, try to stay safe, that whole nine, yeah.
Yes.
And we want to remind everybody that Sue O'Neill, you can catch her in the Mudcats.
That's right.
You all have a gig coming up on September 28th. That's at New Albany. Blues, Brews, and Barbecue.
Yes, we play at 1.
At 1 p.m. And then you also have the Garvin Gate Festival coming up, as well as a few other things.
On the 12th, yeah.
Yes, awesome. So, and if they want to find you all online, what do they do?
Go to the Mudcats Facebook. We also have our webpage, themudcats.com. But Facebook is probably, more up to date.
Yeah.
So just look for the Mudcats.
All right, social media. Find them on that. All right.
Thanks,
Sue. Thank you so much. I want you all to have a happy and safe Labor Day weekend. And as always, tune in on Tuesday. And as always, keep it groovy.
Stranger dressed in black, she's a home.